Welcome to the Township Committee meeting of October 25th, 2018 of the Township of Chatham. Greg, has adequate notice been given?
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. Notice was given about the Chatham Courier and the Morris County Daily Record on January 5th, 2018. Notice was posted on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building on January 5th, 2018, and notice was filed with the Township Clerk on January 5th, 2018.
Can we rise for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Selin?
Here.
Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Here.
Mayor Ritter?
Mayor Ritter has said he is at parent-teacher night this evening, and hopefully he will be arriving before too long. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
As almost everybody seems to know these days, we're going to start off the evening with a proclamation regarding breast cancer awareness. There's not a soul around who hasn't been impacted one way or another, and I applaud so many efforts on behalf of our community and the community at large, actually all across America. During National Breast Cancer Awareness Month of October, we recognize the women and men who courageously fight to survive, detect, treat, prevent, and support survivors of this devastating disease. We vow to honor the loving memory of those lost to this disease, and we pray for their grieving families. We endorse the ongoing commitment to defeat breast cancer through education, early detection, and innovative research. Whereas in the United States this year, more than 260,000 women and approximately 2,600 men will likely be diagnosed with breast cancer. Whereas the statistics are staggering, yet we are encouraged to know that survival rates have drastically improved in recent years due to increased awareness and innovative advancements in early detection and treatment. We encourage all to be proactive in the crusade against this deadly disease. This includes seeking the advice of healthcare providers who can better educate patients on the importance of getting appropriate cancer screening tests at the right time, knowing their family history and other risk factors, and making lifestyle changes that they may reduce the possibility of breast cancer. Whereas American physicians, researchers, public health professionals, and advocates have made tremendous progress in the fight against breast cancer, which is evident by the decline in mortality rates from this disease is nationwide. Each life is precious. For this reason, we endorse the pursuit of greater understanding of this disease, support pioneering research, promote effective prevention strategies, and encourage broad access to healthcare screenings. Whereas together we can usher in a new era of hope in the fight against breast cancer and anticipate the victorious day when this disease no longer plagues our nation. Now therefore, I, Karen M. Schwartz, Deputy Mayor of the Township of Chatham, recognize October 2018 as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I encourage citizens, governments, agencies, nonprofit organizations, the media, all other interested groups to increase awareness of how Americans can fight breast cancer. I invite other residents, healthcare professionals, business owners, and organizations to join me in recognizing National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so on to reports. Mr. Selen?
Your Honor, no reports.
No reports. Mr. Kelly?
No reports here?
Come on.
Wow.
Mr. Sullivan, you've
Right
got some
along.
things to say.
I've got a couple of things to say. First off, just want to recognize that the J.C.'s of the Chathams will be presenting their 58th Distinguished Service Award to Barbara and Monty Montague. The Montagues are longtime residents of Chatham, Chatham Borough, where they live presently. They've been married for 56 years and lived in Chatham for 46. I have the pleasure of serving on the library board with Barbara. But through the years, they have volunteered in Washington Avenue School, the Junior League, J.C.'s, Friends of the Library, Environmental Commission, New Jersey Food Bank. Monty is a longtime member of the Planning Board, Zoning Board. He also has joined the Kiwanis Club, and he helps with the library book sale and the volunteers at the Great Swamp. Barbara is currently a trustee for the Library of the Chathams, helps with the book sale. She is a trustee for the senior services of the Chathams as well, and she and Ackland Summer have chaired the last 3 garden tours. And she also volunteers at the Great Swamp, and they both volunteer at their respective churches. So a wonderful honor to be the 58th recipient of the Chatham J.C.'s Distinguished Service Award on October 30th at 7 p.m. at the Long Hill Tavern. They will be honored, and everyone is welcome to attend. Just reach out and let the J.C.'s know you will be there. So just wanted to mention that. Also, on November 4th, the next Historical Society presentation will be held here at the Municipal Building, November 4th, 2 p.m. History of the Houses of Worship, Chatham Township and Green Village. Pat Wells, again, will give another wonderful presentation. And last, we had our reorganization meeting, I suppose you would call it, of CERT, to gauge volunteers last night, see who would be interested. We got about 20-odd people who showed up, and we had a few more people who replied, said they couldn't be here. We gave a presentation of the program, requirements, and it was a lot of good question and answer, a lot of feedback. Mr. Salvis will be hopefully putting together his fine film version of the meeting, and we'll have it online soon, so anyone else who's interested in volunteering can certainly come forth at any time and let us know of your interest. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Well, I actually have a couple of things to say. First of all, I have been asked several times over the last week or so what is going on with all of the mail-in ballot applications that people are receiving, not only on their doorsteps, but in the U.S. mail. I encourage everybody to visit Ann Grassi, our county clerk's website, the Morris County Clerk's office, regarding the abundance of mail-in ballots. Just because you get a lot of applications does not mean you're getting more than one ballot. So still in America, one voter, one vote. If you do choose to mail away for a ballot and you receive one, you will not be able to vote traditionally at the polling places on the first Tuesday of November. You may be asked to fill out a provisional ballot, but you will not be able to go into the voting booth and vote in the traditional fashion. So if you do send in an application for a mail-in ballot, you will likely receive one, as long as it's within 7 days of Election Day. And I do urge you to visit the county clerk's website. Greg, do you have something to add?
Yes, if people are going to go that route, if they mail in the application, the county has to receive it a week before. That would be October 30th. So they'll need to have, the county has to have it in hand. Beyond that, people can bring the application in person directly to the county clerk's office in Morristown up until 3 p.m. the day before the election.
Thank you. Thanks for
And
clarifying
we have,
that.
for anyone, this is the first I'm hearing of people allegedly being inundated with applications by mail, but we do have applications available here at the municipal building if anyone's eager to vote early.
Get that application in early. Yes, in my house, we've received a dozen. Pre-populated, they've been mailed to us, they've been left on the doorstep. There's a real push for everybody to get out and vote.
And those who receive a ballot, as you noted, have to vote by mail-in ballot. You will not be able to vote at the polls on Election Day. And the ballot, if you get the mail-in ballot, the ballot has to be received by the county by the close of polls on Election Day.
Right, and it can be returned to the county by hand.
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much. Thanks, Greg. So as usual, Greg LeConte, our very abundantly capable township clerk, has a lot of information on it. Certainly the county clerk's website does a call to Ann Grassi's office. Also will provide you with any further insight that you need. Our senior center of the Chathams held its semi-annual shred event and managed to shred about 8,000 pounds of our confidential information that was brought in last Saturday. The senior center grossed over $4,000 in receipts for their valuable and valued programs. We're so grateful to the community for their support. It's time to start storing up all that confidential information that keeps arriving in the mail for the spring event, which will be in April and most likely at the Chatham Borough train station. Also going on, a couple of save the dates for our senior center. Thursday, November 15th at 3:30, all of our seniors are invited to a full dress rehearsal from the Chatham High School program Radium Girls, and also for dinner. So that will be beginning at Chatham High School at 3:30 on Thursday, November 15th, a full dress rehearsal of Radium Girls as well as dinner for our seniors. Also save the date, Monday, November 19th for Thanksgiving luncheon for our seniors. $5 buys a full Thanksgiving lunch, all the fixings provided by Barth's of New Providence. As usual, to learn more information and to RSVP, you can visit chathamseniorcenter.org for further instruction. Let's see, the PBA has announced that due to the projected inclement weather this weekend, Trunk or Treat, which was going to be held at the high school parking lot, I believe, Trunk or Treat has been canceled because of the impending storms that we are starting to hear more and more about. So that was for Saturday. And last but not least on my docket, Tom Chiccarone and I had a productive meeting with PSE&G this past week. They have come to Chatham Township as well as to all the communities along their 51-mile right-of-way to discuss replacing the aging and starting to rust old-fashioned lattice work where they have a lot of their high power lines. As we all know, they replaced many of their power lines with the monopoles that we see in the right-of-way, and they are now on the verge of replacing the older ones that still are there, the lattice work ones. We're not looking at this project to be fully underway until 2021, but they are doing a lot of clearing of that right-of-way, clearing of shrubbery. They are doing some geotesting of the surfaces and so on. If you see people in the right-of-way, they will be the PSE&G folks. Feel free to call PSE&G to make sure that if there's anything that you have that may be of an alarm to you, that you notify them. This is going from the Roseland switching station all the way down to Hopewell, and that is going to be just to provide safer, probably better looking conductive structures for their wiring. My larger concern with PSE&G has to do with the home explosions in the Merrimack Valley in September in the greater Boston area, communities of Lowell, Lawrence rather, Andover and North Andover. There was a series of natural gas explosions causing the evacuation of some 30,000 homes in that area and as many as 80 home fires. They've established that this was due to overpressurized gas lines in some gas mains that were not capable of handling the pressure that Columbia Gas was pumping out. We have gone over these circumstances with PSE&G. We have their abundant confidence that our gas mains and the domestic lines are all highly monitored with many pressure release equipment, much pressure release equipment. We've also talked to our building department regarding the permitting process now for installation of whole home generators which rely on natural gas. So as you are applying for a new home generator which is going to rely on natural gas, the building department and permitting process is going to ask that you do place a call to PSE&G. This was a matter of no small alarm to me, as so much of our community is served by the PSE&G natural gas. So we have their assurance that they're on top of the situation. So those are the things that I have to say. Let's see, John Rushke, thanks for your patience.
Just an update on the Woodlawn Drainage Project. The contractor is scheduled to start the week of the 12th. A little late in his contract time frame, but still within time that he can complete the job within contract, a little later than we hope, but he is scheduled for the 12th. I have been pushing hard regarding the Safe Routes to School grants. It just taking, frankly, ridiculously long to design a sidewalk. It's, we authorized the consultant, the DOT consultant, months ago to design Lafayette, and so I've been pushing extremely hard just to get this done. And so I'm pushing for the end of this month to get preliminary documentations, plan specs, and cost estimates, and so we could advance it. We can start having public participation, some hearings, just to get that feedback to make sure that the project that's at least their preliminary design, meets the goals and objectives that we want to accomplish. So I am pushing for that, and I'm also pushing for the shunt pike. It's just, again, ridiculous that it's a simple sidewalk project, and the DOT is yet to resolve their negotiation with their consultant regarding a price on the design. So then it will come to us to ultimately retain their consultant to do the work, and it's just taken an incredibly long time to do that. But nevertheless, I have kind of stepped up just to push very hard to get an answer from them. So that's where we stand on those.
John, is there any hope, I'm sorry, Mayor?
No, not at all.
Is there any hope that they will get back to us within the month, the way we're asking? Is it giving us any reason to believe?
I think so.
Yeah?
I'm demanding. I am.
Well,
It's in fact, their contract is up at the end of the month. It said that in the contract that we signed with them, it said that they're supposed to be substantially complete by the end of the month. And so I'm holding them to that. We even have a contract that says they have to do that. So I'm holding off for that, and I have gotten the DOT involved because basically it is their consultant, and I've gone up the chain with DOT regarding, again, them putting pressure on their consultant. And this is a sidewalk project that if they dedicated one person for 2 weeks, they could knock it out. And here we're talking, 2 years to get this designed. It's just, again, it's ridiculous how long it's taking. And also, the cost to develop a cost and negotiate a cost for, again, it's not a complicated project. It's a sidewalk. It should not be taking months and months and months to negotiate a price with their own consultant. It's mind-boggling how the delays are happening. And again, I mentioned this in the past regarding the federal process, and it's a long process. Once we get the plans, they have to be submitted to the DOT to do an environmental review, and that environmental review takes 6 months to go through. So we probably already missed the opportunity of this being a summer project next year. It's the following year, based on the way they're going. It's just very frustrating, the delays that are associated with this. So hopefully if we get it by the end of the month, even if it's, it doesn't have to be a complete set of construction drawings, construction ready, to start meeting with the public. The public doesn't care how the ADA ramps meet code and the grades. They want to know how it's impacting their property and where the alignment is and those things. And can we go around trees? Are we removing trees? And those issues and those things that could have been done, those set of plans could have been done, frankly, months ago when they first started, as soon as they got to draw those concepts so that we can pin those down. So I'm pushing it extremely hard.
John, is this indicative of the safe routes? I can't imagine that this is how the process works in general. And going forward, how do we feel about further safe routes to school grants that are in the wings too?
Well, it's not the federal grant programs. There's layers of process to go through, but I've completed many of the federal grants. It's not it's just I haven't completed any in Chatham yet because we decided to go through the design assistance program, which is fine. We're saving money going through the design assistance, but you would expect that design assistance utilizing their consultants, things would have went faster. I mean, we're talking about a 2014 grant. I completed those grants for other towns, years ago, and even in 2016, I'm done with those. It's taking a long time, and the excuse is it was a new program, so they kind of had some growing pains with the new program, and the excuses that I keep getting is they're understaffed, and it does appear to be understaffed. Even the local aid departments are understaffed, and so we'll get through it, and we'll save money, but it's just taking time. That's what's.
When you say we'll save money,
For design services.
The design
soft costs,
services
yeah.
is going to be covered
Under
within
the
the whole
grant,
scope
yeah,
of the grant?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So it's that's the downside of going through their program is time. That's all.
Well, it's a little bit more than that. The reporting requirements are much, much more complicated than when you're dealing directly with a DOT grant. Once there's federal money involved, there's all kinds of layers to that bureaucracy that you have to deal with. I spent a day of my life that I'll never get back having to go sit through a training exercise with regards to how we oversee the project and how we process payments and all of that kind of stuff. Additionally, it subjects us to additional auditing requirements. Once you accept federal funds, there's an additional layer to, the so-called single audit. So there are some ramifications to accepting federal money. So in the future, don't just rush into it. Ask all the questions.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Well,
John?
I've been through the program many times, and so I like it when administrators and other engineers don't want to use the program. That just gives more money for us. So I encourage, don't go.
I'm not sure you guys have any room in the bank for more money.
John, a couple of other things. My question about the Lenape Trail project, when you're out looking at the pitch in the road and the progress that we've made there and whether anything will get done this fall? Or whether
It's not going to happen this fall. We've as you know, we went out to bid and we only received one bid, and the bid was well over budget, and I received sidewalk bids for another town that we didn't get any bids, and so I just went out to bid again in that other town to receive bids in January, just giving us a long time. We may want to consider that also, but we were having some internal discussions regarding doing a assessment associated with that, if we're going to fund it 100%, or are we going to start talking? So we're having those internal discussions regarding funding and just revisiting how that project is going to be funded.
Great. Anybody?
Just me. John, refresh my memory, in terms of saving money on those safe routes to school sidewalks, what's the ballpark figure we're talking about by going with their consultant versus if we had gone ourselves?
The price that we got from the consultant was $80,000 to design the project. I would have thought that this would be more like a $30,000 or less, to design for. It is a larger project. It's $500,000, and usually it's the design services. Usually around the 5%, or if it's a little more complicated project, may go towards a 10%. But it's very high for just design services. And, we're not paying for it, so whatever the DOT is paying their own consultants, we're all paying for it. We are indirectly. I agree, but the price, we're so what can I say? We're saving, 30,000.
30,000, maybe a little bit higher, depending on that. Okay.
Yeah, we did it internally.
Right. Great. Thank you. Anybody? Tom?
Yes, just a very quick explanation of a couple of the resolutions that are on the consent agenda before we get to them. 180 is amending the 2018 budget to insert the money from New Jersey American Water for the paving of Lenape Trail. I mentioned that at the last meeting that we had reached an agreement with them to do the same thing we did with Lafayette. Instead of just having the trench repaired, we'll be able to go curb to curb. And we did, in fact, receive the check from them, so we're tonight amending the budget to insert that revenue and with an offset appropriation. That'll then fold into John's paving program in the spring. And then there's the two resolutions that have to do with the MAC grant, which have finally been awarded, and again, we're now amending the 2018 budget to insert those as a revenue with an offsetting appropriation. They have no impact on taxes, either one of those things. That's it.
Anything else in the broader picture?
Not tonight.
Okay. I will say, we can't take for granted the fact that Tom has orchestrated this idea of getting New Jersey American Water to contribute back to our budget enough. It's an innovative way of looking at it. When New Jersey American Water comes in to redo a water main, they're going to rip up half the street, put the water main under it, and then pave over half the street. But because we take great pride in our local roads, we've established that we can do it better than New Jersey American Water can. So we'll recoup the funds that they would have dedicated to paving the local streets, and then we will in turn apply that towards having it done the way we wish our local streets to be. And that's to your credit, Tom. We're grateful for that. I think the people who live on those streets and travel them every day are grateful for that too. So thank you. Albert? Not yet. Chief? Yes. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just real quickly, our 8-month project of studying the traffic on Southern Boulevard and Fairmont Avenue, we were able to finally get the light recycled. We've added 25 seconds for the Southern Boulevard portion between 4:30 p.m. and 6 p.m., and an additional 5 seconds to the Fairmont Avenue side, both directions. So that happened last week finally, and it seems to be doing very well.
Really?
Yeah.
You've noticed a difference already?
Absolutely.
That's great.
So
Hopefully it mitigates some of the cut-through that people experience on their local
we're hoping
streets
that it
and-
does, yes. So
That's great.
Super, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else for Chief Miller? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was worth a trip to the microphone. Rich? Deb? Okay, everybody. We can move on to the hearing of citizens, everybody. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearings tonight. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Seeing no one come forward, we will move along to the introduction of ordinances. Tonight we have ordinance 2018-21. I'm going to find that right here in our pile. Ordinance 2018-21 is an ordinance of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, specifying the open space purposes for which Block 62, lots 93 and 94, as shown on the Township tax map, are dedicated. Albert?
Madam Mayor, this ordinance is also related to item 5 under the consent agenda, which is Resolution 2018-197, accepting amendment to open space funding agreement. The Township Committee may recall that several years ago, and you alluded to this in a different context earlier this evening, the electric company was redoing the then existing lattice towers and building monopoles. That required T-Mobile to relocate temporarily from the lattice towers while the monopoles were being constructed. The township went through a bidding process to allow municipal property to be used on a temporary basis for a temporary cell tower while that construction process was occurring. The township bid several municipal sites, including Colony Pool and Esternay Field, and T-Mobile was awarded leases for both of those properties. And both of those properties are Green Acre properties. However, those leases were for a period of 2 years. Because of circumstances beyond the control of both T-Mobile and the township, namely that the construction of the new monopoles took longer than anticipated, the approval process of the electric company of the relocation took longer, and then authorization from the PJM, which is the grid operator, to power down the tower so they could be relocated, took longer. T-Mobile overstayed their 2-year leases. You may also recall that you authorized, before those leases expired, for me to send notice to T-Mobile that they had to vacate the property. That notice was sent in a timely way. T-Mobile's response to that was to initiate a lawsuit to prevent the township from evicting them essentially from the municipal property. The theory or the rationale for the lawsuit was that cell service provides a public benefit. It provides a means to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents by allowing residents to make emergency calls if needed. If T-Mobile lost this service, then the public could be harmed. So that was the basis for T-Mobile to sue the township and proceed to court. A Superior Court judge did rule in their favor and allowed them to stay while the relocation process was occurring. However, the Superior Court judge said that the township could not be harmed by that action. So the judge was balancing the public benefit in terms of cell service versus particular use of the Green Acres site. As a result of this process, a diversion is required because there's the lease overstayed, or T-Mobile overstayed on the municipal properties of Esternay Field and Colony Pool. The township has been engaged with Green Acres and T-Mobile to locate replacement property, assess a valuation to that replacement property, and that process has been completed. The replacement property will be on the open space parcel that you purchased at the end of last year at Southern Boulevard and River Road. And what this ordinance provides is that an undivided 0.83 acres of that property will be used for replacement property. It is essentially has no impact on the use of that property. It's simply a mechanism to account for replacement property. The effect of that is that a replacement property valuation has been established. T-Mobile will pay the township that valuation, which is approximately $247,000. And Green Acres, who had given you a $500,000 grant to purchase the Southern Boulevard River Road property, will then deduct that from the $500,000 grant, but that balance will still remain in your account in your favor. It's just not being utilized for this purpose. So at the end of all this, between what T-Mobile pays and what Green Acres pays, you are back to your original $500,000. So this particular ordinance just designates that undivided portion of 0.83 acres as replacement property. It was a requirement of the Green Acres that the township make that allocation. Resolution 179, it's just an amendment to your existing open space funding agreement, while it also deals with that $500,000 grant. That ordinance has no impact at all on the amended agreement. I know that was a little bit of a long explanation, and primarily because there's a lot of history to it, but really the essence of it is this is to make sure that T-Mobile and the town are made, that T-Mobile makes the town whole as a result of the court order that was entered a few years ago. Okay.
So is this to say that T-Mobile is putting a cell tower on our, no?
No, that's both Esternay Field and Colony Pool, those were taken down
Right.
At the beginning of this year, and the playground was restored at T-Mobile's
Right.
cost with new equipment. So these antennas are now physically on the monopoles.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Can I have a motion to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Selin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
And the public hearing will be on November 8th.
Alrighty. Now we are going to get around to public hearing and final adoption of ordinances. And we will start with ordinance 2018-18. This is an ordinance of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing subsection 30-61.4, titled Installation and Improvement, Developers Agreements and Guarantees, Township Design Standards and Specifications, by amending paragraph C thereof, titled Performance Guarantee, by adding new paragraph K, titled Safety and Stabilization Guarantee, and adding new paragraph L titled Temporary Certificate of Occupancy Guarantee.
Madam Deputy Mayor, this ordinance brings the township in conformance with an amendment to the municipal land use law that occurred at the beginning of this year. I view it as a technical ordinance. It basically deals with how the township can regulate performance bonds. This was primarily driven by the Builders Association. So it is a response to the demands of the builders that the legislature adopted this ordinance, or adopted the amendment to the municipal land use law. So this ordinance just simply implements what the state legislature did. And it's, as I said, I view it as more technical than anything else.
Anybody have any questions for Albert?
There was a memo sent to the committee by email about the planning board having determined this ordinance to be not inconsistent with master plan.
Nothing.
So with that, you have jurisdiction to hold the public hearing and proceed forward tonight.
There we go. All right. So can I have a motion to adopt this?
No,
ordinance?
you're
No.
opening to the public
Oh.
hearing.
We have an opportunity for the public to come and speak. Seeing no one come forward. May I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
So moved. A second, rather?
Second?
Very good.
Mr. Solin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes. All righty. We will move along to ordinance 2018-20, an ordinance of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, accepting a conservation easement from Mads Jepson and Sari Jepson, husband and wife, for a conservation easement across Lot 50 in Block 144 as shown on the Chatham Township tax map and commonly known as 446 Green Village Road.
Madam Deputy Mayor, periodically, ordinances of this type come before you. This arise from either a planning board or board of adjustment approval, where that particular board has made it a condition of approval that a conservation easement be granted in the favor of the township. So this mechanically, under the local lands and buildings law, in order for a municipality to accept an easement or accept any property, it has to adopt an ordinance. So this is the mechanical step necessary for the township to adopt that conservation easement that was provided or being granted to the township by the property owner as a result of the approval of the board.
Do you have any questions for Albert?
Well, this came out of the zoning board?
Yes.
So what is the size? I mean, that property is extensive and very wet. So what is the size of?
I don't know. There is a map and a meets and bounds description attached to the conservation easement. I don't have it with me tonight, but you are correct. It is a very irregular property, and it is fairly extensive on the property. The building envelope for the property, my recollection is quite small.
Yeah, that's correct. It's a large parcel, but it's inundated for floodplain and wetlands and transition areas, really the only way they were able to develop it because there was an existing dwelling there, and they just rehabilitated it. And they just rehabilitated that house, and it actually had to be elevated above the floodplain, and there was a lot of environmental constraints.
Is this bordering the Black Brook? Is that where that is? It's at the foot of Britton Road, am I correct?
Yes.
Right.
In that vicinity, yeah, correct.
Do we have any other questions?
I have an editorial comment, and again,
Go right ahead.
it's more of a suggestion that you may want to pass on to the Environmental Commission and any other township agency, that before they go before the Board of Adjustment or the Planning Board with a request for a conservation easement, I really think it would have been proper for them to run that by you first instead of after the fact. Conservation easements used to be a fairly routine thing for boards to impose, they're not allowed to just impose it. It has to be requested, and the applicant needs to agree to it, and that is what happened here. But I don't know who exactly authorized the Environmental Commission to make the request in the first place. And again, from my own perspective, I don't know that we need this. You know, it's here, you've already introduced it, it's on for public hearing, but the land is severely encumbered by environmental constraints. It's not going to be further developed just because of the wetlands and the buffers and stuff that's there. The conservation easement doesn't do anything other than to shift the burden to us to monitor it. So that's all.
Very good. I appreciate your input, Tom. Are there any other questions, comments from the public? May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-20?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second?
All righty.
Mr. Solon?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes. Okay. Terrific. Moving on to the consent agenda. Greg, will you do the honors?
This evening, we have Resolution 2018-175, receipt of reports, 2018-176, approving meeting minutes, 2018-177, approving executive session minutes, 2018-178, release of escrow balances, 2018-179, accepting amendment to open space funding agreement, 2018-180, amending 2018 budget, Lenape Trail restoration, 2018-181, amending 2018 budget, MAC DEDR grant, and 2018-182, amending 2018 budget, MAC supplemental grant.
Very good. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
And a second?
Second?
All right.
Mr. Solon?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes. All righty. Do we have any discussion or possible ordinances or resolutions? Anybody? Anybody? All righty. Seeing that we have time for a hearing of citizens, this is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard, to help facilitate an orderly meeting, and to permit all to be heard. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Seeing no one come forward, we will close out the public hearing section. Greg, do we have executive session?
Yes, we do. Resolution 2018-P-13, resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Committee with public excluded. Whereas NJSA 10:4-12 of the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of the specified subject matter. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Personnel, litigation in the matter of the Township of Chatham for a judgment of compliance of its third round housing element and fair share plan, docket number MRS-L-1659-15, and litigation Fair Share Housing Center versus Township of Chatham, docket number MRS-L-000234-18. It is anticipated that the minutes on the subject matter of the executive session will be made public upon conclusion of the matter under discussion, and in any event when appropriate pursuant to NJSA 10:4-7 and 4-13. The committee will come back into regular session and may take further action. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Very good. Do you need a motion to accept that?
Yes, we do.
May I have a motion to accept that?
So moved.
And do I have a motion to, do I have a second, rather?
Second?
Second, all right.
You guys are doing a great job.
Mr. Solon?
It's all yours.
Mr. Solon?
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
You're confusing me.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Thank you.